Trying to decide whether that new game is worth your $60? Or maybe you're just wondering if an old game is worth your time. Well, you came to the right place. This is the only podcast that tries to answer the question,
should I buy it though?
Hey everyone, welcome back to Should I Buy It Though? I forgot.
And the screen says TJ Berry, so let's go with that.
I'm Amanda Acosta, because I am not a fan of Amnesia jokes.
And my name is Nicholas Palazzo. Does anyone know my name?
Okay, that's a smooth way to do that.
And today...
we're talking about Amnesia Rebirth. The new, relatively surprising entry into the Amnesia franchise. I feel like I didn't hear anything about it until we just found out it was coming out.
Yeah, nothing.
And Amnesia was pretty big back in the day.
Amnesia was quite big.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
But yeah, we're in that Halloween spirit. Happy Halloween week, everyone. When you listen to this, it'll be just a few more days. So if you're into that whole scary stuff, here we go. I actually played a horror game.
Yay!
Let's see if I hate it as much as I hated Until Dawn. For context, I played it. Okay, well, spoiler alert, I guess, as to my opinions. But I played it on stream in pretty much one sitting. I went for roughly 8 hours. I think a little over that. And did not finish it, and then did not pick it back up again after that stream. Funny enough, I was like 20 minutes away from the end of the game. But I got stuck on a puzzle, and I just reached a point where I was like, sorry, y'all, I can't keep going.
I also streamed it. I streamed first, and I picked up after John stopped. And I played off stream as well. I played on PC. I play everything on PC. And funnily enough, I wanted to get to the point that John got to, and then I was like, okay, then I'll save the rest for later, for today. And I got to the puzzle that John was stuck at. And it took me it took me 2 minutes to figure it out, and I continued forward. And then I stopped, and I just wanted to share that. So
You're good at puzzles.
She means she beat the game.
Also, I doubt it was a hard puzzle, but I think I had just kind of gotten burnt out at that point.
It wasn't a puzzle. That's the thing. It wasn't a puzzle at all. You just had to... I will say, I got kind of lucky because, I moved and a thing,
Oh, okay,
the
cable
hands
stretched
pop
out
up,
for
and I was
you?
like,
Yeah.
oh, and I just started moving it, and then I was like, this won't fit, and then it did fit, and I was like,
Wow.
I'm a genius. So.
As one of our college professors once said, well, good for you.
Nice. Oh, also, I finished it completely today. All 3 endings.
Hooray. Oh, all 3?
Yeah.
Nice.
Is it just a choice you make at the end? I have a feeling I know what the thing is, but...
Yes.
Kind of.
Okay, cool.
We'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
If anything.
I played it, PS4. I beat it. I don't really care about the other endings, but I bet.
All right.
Fair enough.
Sorry. I did not play this game. I know a little bit about the original, but I'm here to listen and to learn and to gain knowledge.
Sure. So that's a good opening question, I think. Had any of you played other Amnesia games and or, horror games of this style? How do you feel about them? That sort of thing.
Heck no. I am not a scary girl. I'm a scary girl, but I'm not a scary girl. You know what I mean? Okay. Don't worry. When I was younger, I would play Slenderman and hate my life, and I would just, I only did it if I was with friends and stuff like that, but I hated it, and just couldn't really do it.
I just need to share a fun fact for the audience, completely unrelated to anything, but when we were in high school, when we would do plays and musicals, Amanda and my class, we would play Slenderman backstage. There was a little room we would go to if you were out of commission for a while. We would just play Slender Man while you waited.
Yeah. It was awful because you could totally hear us screaming through the walls too.
Probably, yeah. Kids are dumb.
So.
Anyways. TJ?
Oh. No. I
Okay.
I don't really. I forgot. Honestly, forgot. I don't really play. Except from like the Resident Evil games, which isn't like Amnesia. I haven't really played games like this.
Oh, you know what? Or if we're talking about games like Amnesia, yeah, it's a no.
Okay.
It's not like a survival horror game. Kind of. Left 4 Dead. I used to play Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, games of this style, I don't think I've played too many. Does Outlast count? Is that sort of similar-ish? Based on my classification of the horror game genre, yeah, I've done Outlast 2. I'm familiar with the original Amnesia. Did not play through that. I guess PT would be a part of that grouping, kind of.
Did you play PT?
Yeah.
I never physically played it, but I have watched many a YouTube reaction to it because that's comedy gold right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a big fan of the horror genre in games. I have my gripes with it, of course, and we'll probably get into that. But I think this type of horror, Amnesia's type of horror, is very different from Resident Evil, which I am a huge fan of. And I think that kind of game does horror very differently than this kind of game does. And we might talk about that later. But yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Funny enough, I have played PT, but anyways. If you listen to our Until Dawn review, you already know I'm just not a huge fan of the horror genre. I have nothing against being scared. It just kind of, generally speaking, a lot of the horror that like scares you just for the sake of scaring you doesn't interest me, you know? Like, I'd rather be frightened because of my investment in characters and that sort of thing. Which, funny enough, I do think, while this game still tries to scare you just to scare you, I think it does try and trend in that direction of getting you to care about the character and having a lot of the fear come from that. So it was an interesting experience for me as someone who has different tastes when it comes to the horror genre. Let's open with a quick explanation of the game and maybe just our overall impressions. I think a lot of this game is story, because most of it is while there are some puzzles, it really is kind of a walking simulator, but like horror genre. At no point there's no combat in this game. You can't fight back. Like it's run, learn stuff, keep moving. It's that sort of thing. Funny enough, I think there you go. That's the description of what the game is. But you are playing as a character who has amnesia, and you wake up in the midst of this plane crash, and some time has passed. You don't know what happened. You are pregnant. And you are much further along than you thought you were. And things just get weirder and weirder as they go. And there's a ton of different mechanics in this game and a lot of different sections. But I think, the main things you're grappling with here is that the character is afraid of what's happening in the game. And so a lot of the game is you trying to deal with that fear mechanic, because if your character becomes too scared, she will straight up pass out. So that's not fabulous. And of course it annoys you because you start hearing like the creepy noises or whatever. And
delicious.
Then, funny enough, just to come out, I did not get scared by this game at all, really. I don't think I ever once had like a solid scare, but the closest I got was just, I would get startled because as she got more and more scared, the game would just play like sound effects, and one of them just was like a really loud noise that was almost like a scream. It was like that sort of thing for like a second. And like I didn't jump at it or anything, but it was enough to be like...
So a cheap scare, essentially.
Exactly. And that, we'll get into it in a second, but like that was the most annoying thing to me about the game as we went on. A lot of the game, when you're dealing with the fear, is you can't look at like the gruesome things in the game. If you look at them for too long, so you get scared. And the other one is the dark. You're constantly lighting things so that she doesn't freak out in the dark. And the game's like resource management to keep you in that state of horror is it gives you matches, usually, and you have to like light them, and you waste your matches, and if you're in the dark too much, you get scared. And so to me, I don't know, like my conservationist brain like immediately went into like, oh, these are precious. I need to only use them when absolutely necessary. So I was running through the dark for most of the game. And so I was getting those cheap scares, which I don't think were even intended to be scares, about every like 30 seconds, just because I wasn't lighting anything because I was waiting for when I needed it. Which is maybe just not how the game wants you to engage with it. But that's how I would be in that situation, and so that's how I played it. And so, like, it's a cool mechanic. I guess that's kind of the first thing that I'm interested to see how you guys felt about both the fear mechanic and the whole pregnancy aspect of the game, because, like, literally, you being a mother is a big part of the narrative and the mechanics as well. Like, there's literally a mechanic where you can check in on your baby to, like, help you calm down a little bit and that sort of thing. And I found them interesting in concept, but in practice, I found that both the mechanics ended up feeling very tedious to me. Like I was trying to move through a puzzle or something, and I would have to stop because, oh, it's too dark, let me run back to the light, or, oh, the baby's kicking and the screen is flashing and I'm getting the noise in my headphones, I need to stop to check on the baby. It was like cute the first few times, but when it got forced on me, I kind of got a little tired of it. How was your experience with like those mechanics?
I can definitely understand you like feeling like if it was forced on you, then yeah, it definitely gets like annoying after a while. For me though, I took as on stream at the beginning, I took it very slowly. Because I personally, the game itself, I don't believe is objectively scary.
I think it can be, though. It just depends on what you find scary. I think there are moments where I was like, if I was a different person, I'd be like urinating
trust
myself.
100%. I don't think it's objectively scary. But
what
I
do you
got
mean by
scared.
that? I'm just curious because you've said it a few times.
I feel like to like the general
like
public,
there are parts that are
scary
scary in it, but it's not necessarily like a game where it's like, this is the scariest shit I've ever seen.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Did I get scared several times on stream? Yes. Yeah. Because personally, I know the two things that will always get me are like the noises and the dark. This game
there you go.
is noise and darkness.
Yeah.
So it did a great job at getting me there. And literally the beginning of the game, you find this big cave tunnel thing and you're just trying to walk through the darkness. The majority of the game, you're walking through the darkness. But same as John, I did try and like hold on to as many matches as I possibly could, and oil as well, even though I hated the lantern, but we'll get there when we get there. But even if I don't know if it's because I took my time or what it was, but although she was getting scared, you also have that option to like fight against the darkness as in what's taking over her, the fear.
Oh, yeah, there's a struggle mechanic in the game where you can kind of mash buttons to fight off the fear.
Yeah, which I found I used a lot. And I mean, yeah, because that's just, if I chose to walk through the dark, I chose to walk through the dark. That's on me. And if she got scared because of it, then yeah, I had to struggle. But I struggled and I got past it and I just continued on. So I was fine, And the times, I will say what I do like about the game, the times that where you did struggle, but you still fell into the darkness and the fear got you, you would wake back up, but you would be like past that point. You know what I mean? Yeah. So the game was like, hey, you had a problem there. We went ahead and let you go a little forward. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I might be wrong, but I think the game has I'm pretty sure, just the way I ran into it, I'm pretty sure there's a few moments where that happens, like, scripted. Like, you will pass out no matter what happens. So that
maybe?
Proceed.
Maybe. I don't know. But even with monsters as well, like the creatures of the night or whatever the heck, you can fight them and you can struggle and you can win and run for your life and hide, which also I thought got me a lot of times, but I thought it was really, really good how they handled that. Or they got you and they they got you and you knocked out, whatever. But again, you will wake up in a new location, but you will be ahead of it and you'll be able to move forward with it, which I appreciated because the game really does they say it from the beginning. You're playing the game for the story. You're not playing to win. You're playing for the story. Right? And
did you say the game tells you that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really? Wait, can you explain that?
The very beginning of the game. It says as soon as you start the game, it's like, hey, you're not playing this game to win. You're playing to jump into the story and understand the characters and feel for them and like whatever.
Yeah.
That's what it says.
There's a disclaimer at the beginning that basically just says the best way to enjoy this is not to play it with like she said, like a to win mindset, just to immerse yourself in.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
and that's fair. At least they tell you like right from the beginning, like, hey, this is it. So that if you do get to the point in the game, you're like, I hate that it's like this. It's like, hey, dude, they told you. So if you at least played it and you got under those 2 hours, go ahead and return
It's
it.
like, bro, just walk through because that's all there is here.
Yeah.
Yeah, or because they really just want you to push forward. They want you to get that.
Do you think they should have that disclaimer before you buy the game?
It's at the very beginning, so you
It's at
can,
the- yeah.
you know, if you had to
It's
return,
in the perfect.
like, that would be when.
It's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but I do want to talk about the monsters in a second. But I want to let TJ weigh in on kind of these other mechanics first before we move on to that.
Nothing. I just thought it was cool.
All right.
A lot of times I walk through the dark. I grew up playing a lot of like Ultimate Ninja and like games like that, so I'm really good at button mashing and like old boy guy. So like it didn't really bother me to just fight off monsters and walk. I thought the hiding mechanic was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of just breezed through the game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and that again, like it depends on like the kind of. I guess if you get scared easily or what, because for me, because I knew for you guys weren't scared, especially me having watched John play, but compared to how I played or reacted to it, so yeah, I struggled a bit.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I think that's the ideal reaction. Like, if you like horror, again, it's a weird thing for me to talk about because I don't see the appeal in, again, the scare for the sake of the scare. But if you like horror, I assume that you do.
It's always weird too, because people who like horror don't necessarily get scared either. So it's just like...
yeah, they just like it because they like it.
Yeah,
you know, I don't know the aesthetic.
But I do want to go back to what you said earlier about fighting the monsters and stuff. So in this game, like I said, a lot of it is a walking simulator. But there are moments where you will encounter monsters. And really, the thing with this game is, and it's not to its detriment necessarily, but there are really only 2 monsters in the game. But the problem with this game, a big problem for me, is that you can't die in this game. Not at no point in the game will you die. You know, like if you run into a trap or a monster or whatever, like maybe you'll pass out or whatever and you have to wake up. And the respawn screens are so long because it has like a little animation, which like it was cool the first few times. And then I guess that's kind of the running thread that I discovered. There were a few things that I was like, oh, that's cool. But then in use over and over again, I got really annoyed of. Like the respawns, I was like, dude, just let me get back into the game. Like I know come on.
Yeah, there's really no.
Is it like a loading
punishment
screen?
system.
No, it's like okay, it's kind of like you know, at the end of a cycle in Outer Wilds, like how it replays everything you saw.
Oh, I
it's
know.
something kind of like that, but it's almost like you're seeing what happened to her when she blacked out, I guess.
Oh, okay.
It's like a fast forwarded little like montage of like images and whatever.
Gotcha.
And then she wakes up and she always has the moment where she goes and like checks herself and she's like, oh my god,
Yeah, because she checks herself because the darkness is what took over her.
Yeah. Which, like, again, I understand it narratively, and I'm like, it was a cool idea, but the length of it really would annoy me.
Fair enough, I guess.
In practice,
I guess if you got it over and over again, yeah. I didn't get it that often.
I don't know.
To the point where I got annoyed.
After I want to say after the second or third time, I was like, I get it.
Okay.
Can we have a shorter version of it? Because it's not necessarily
Fair
changing.
enough.
It's the same thing. But anyways, so for me, like the big problem with the game mechanically is the fact that you can't die, because then there are these monsters that you're supposed to be scared of, and early on in the game, because you can probably make it through this game without dying at all. Honestly, with relative ease. I did not die. The first time I died in this game was just I missed a jump. and that's how I died. And then like later on in the game, there are more mistakes you can make, but I'm sure there are a number of people who can probably make it through this game pretty easy without respawning very much at all. And so when you're first encountering monsters, like it's an interesting experience because you're not even going up against them face to face. You're kind of seeing them in the shadows. Like there are moments where you see them, and it's cool. It's a build until eventually you do have the first moment where like straight up like it's you and the monster. Like go do something about it.
That moment got ruined for me, but we'll get there.
Oh, okay. I do want to hear this story because I thought it was one of the highlights of the game, I thought. But the problem is that once you get past that initial point and like it inevitably you run into more monsters and you will probably get caught by one at some point. Because the game won't kill you, basically the animation is almost always it picks you up, it throws you, and then when you look back up, it's gone. Or something along those lines. And so the fact that, like, running into the monsters basically didn't really do anything, like, immediately killed any potential for fear in the game, because I was like, okay, nothing's going to happen. Like, it's just going to annoy me for a few seconds the same way the respawn screen does. And so, like, there's one scene where you're kind of going through, like, a maze, and there's these monsters all around. And I was running from them, not because I was scared of them, but because I was like, oh my god, you're going to throw me and I'm going to get disoriented and it's just going to annoy me. And so that was my issue that kind of killed the monsters, because I thought the monsters were really cool. Like, especially those early encounters when, like, they first reveal themselves, because you get used to seeing them in the shadows and then you see it, like, face to face. And it's a cool initial encounter to have. It just kind of sucks that they ended up falling flat relatively soon after that.
I think that's interesting because, again, it's totally going to depend on the kind of player you are and just like a person, I guess, because even after they would catch me and I struggled enough that like I got thrown but they disappeared, I still got scared when I saw them again. But that initial first moment was ruined for me because, one, also, the location where it happens, I loved that location. But there was a point where I was in there and I was just, being quiet and looking for stuff. And I didn't realize that there was a monster. I thought I was just in here alone by myself. But you hear noises. And I'm just like, that's just the game, the noises that you heard like earlier in the caves. And now it's here, like not a big deal. And then I was just walking, minding my own business. And I just turned a corner. It wasn't there. And then it was there. It like glitched out.
Yeah.
It like just appeared in front of me. I screamed so loud. And then it like ran right past me and just moved. But it was the funniest moment because I laughed at myself afterwards. So I'm like, Amanda, you're an idiot. But also like that wasn't supposed to be how that went down. But I'm happy it was. I'm happy it went down that way. But then once it caught me and I had to like start back from like the elevator shaft or whatever the heck, I saw it when you were first supposed to see it. And I was like, okay, I understand now. And then I really enjoyed that whole sequence.
That animation can actually, like, if you go back and forth, it will keep playing. So, like, that honestly kind of killed it for me a little bit as well.
Oh, really?
Because I saw the same... there's like a crawl up a wall that you can see through, and then if you go to a different area, there's some stairs, and it's like in the stairway for a second, and then he's somewhere else. And every time I revisited the area, I mean, it wasn't every single time, but there was like a 50-50 chance that the same thing would happen. So like eventually, like familiarity, especially when it comes to like in a game, I guess, like it breaks the illusion a little bit. It kind of makes it feel less real, and you're like, oh look, it's an animatronic. It's
I guess I just didn't get very familiar with. I don't know.
Amanda's not going back to other locations. She's trekking through the game.
Yeah, and even then, like you have to get familiar with your locations in order to like progress in this game.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about why I got so familiar with it in a second. But I want to give TJ, if you have any thoughts on like the monster stuff as well.
Like, I don't know, bro. I don't know how. I honestly don't know how I even feel about this game. It gives me a big Outer Wilds feel. and I
Oh no!
don't necessarily.
Right. I think we already. You guys just want to vote now because we can do it if you want.
Okay, wait. To its credit, I will say, because we know how TJ feels about Outer Wilds.
Yeah.
This game does not give me Until Dawn vibes. I'll say that.
Oh no.
That's good.
Like, we'll get into it. It's definitely not Until Dawn.
For sure.
This game is by no means a piece of shit. But
The mechanics
I just wanna
did.
mention-
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No.
You
Go
good?
ahead, Plaza.
The mechanics, did they feel? Oh my god, my thing is gonna crap out on me. I see one little red bar there. Did the mechanics feel shoehorned in any way, like overly tedious to the point where you didn't even need them? You would rather it just be a walking simulator going from scare to scare till the end of the game. Do you know what I mean?
Which mechanics are you referring to?
No.
Like the fear mechanics, the lighting mechanics with the thing that you would use to light up the area.
I don't think they were overly shoehorned in. In my opinion, they probably expect everyone to have a similar experience and or approach to the game. I think the reason it fell so flat for me is because I probably wasn't engaging with the game the way they expected me to. They probably thought everyone would be like, oh, she's scared, let me turn on a light. Whereas I was like, I don't know. I just play it kind of like how I would have been there in real life. And I'm like, oh, I'm scared. Toughen up, Buttercup. I don't know if you're going to need this match for something more important. Deal with the fear and like keep moving.
Because I guess what I'm wondering is, if they tell you from the very beginning of the game, don't play the game, just experience the story, why have the game in the first
I
place?
think it's
that's
more just like a
not
thing
what
where they're
saying.
just like, look, it's not like a typical you're gonna go shoot some zombies kind of game.
Exactly,
It's just
yeah.
like you're gonna walk through the story, like these are the mechanics, you're gonna play through it, but you're not really gonna like beat
Yeah.
anything up.
They don't say don't play the game. They just say don't play the game to win. Like, you know, don't go looking for like the quickest shortcut to like min max your way
Like,
out of the
run
game.
around for, like, loot
just
and
let
stuff.
yourself be in the experience is what they're
Okay.
saying. But speaking of mechanics, though, I mean, let's get into the two next things, I guess. One, I want to talk about controls real quick, because this game has something that is from other Amnesia games where it's kind of like the controls are very like, if you're opening a door, you need to like, at least on PC, you need to click the mouse and drag it in the direction to open the door. If you're turning a wheel, you have to rotate your mouse over and over and over
Use
again.
analog stick,
Which
yeah.
another thing that I thought was really cool in concept. Like, to me, it was one of those things kind of like how I geek out over stuff that they do with like the PS4 controllers. I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then I got annoyed of it real quick, just because it became kind of tedious. And I see what they were going for, and I'm sure it was effective for a lot of people, but for me, it was just like pick it up. The game just felt a little too... Everything, all the mechanics I don't like from the game were stuff that just made it feel too slow.
I liked it.
I was looking at Amanda. She was like, but I like that.
Sorry, I don't know. I liked it.
I liked it because like it gave you something to actually do.
Okay.
Like, I was like,
Fair.
this is... If I was opening a door in real life, I would do a similar motion. I don't
Oh yeah, I just like it because like if it was really just like one button press, it would be another thing in a game where I'm just like, I don't know why I spent $30
Sure.
to do this.
I will say, I should have probably said this at the beginning, but like, I said it in my impressions, this game reminds me a lot of the old Nancy Drew games, and I
Yeah.
don't know if you guys have played those, but
I can see that,
used to play those with my
actually.
sister, and I love those games.
A lot of clicking
So-
plays and fun and stuff.
yeah, like and it was full of puzzles, and it was a creepy game, not as scary as Amnesia, but it was great, and I loved it. So I don't know, jumping into Amnesia just really took me back, and
That's nice.
I'm sure this is how several of the other Amnesia games are. So if they weren't as scary, I'm sure I'd really enjoy them and play them, but I won't. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's why I like
I
it so
won't.
much.
Wait,
I don't
you're
know if
saying
that's
you
why I like
you
it so
really
much.
enjoyed the puzzle aspect of the game?
Yeah.
Amanda likes puzzles.
Huh.
I
Okay.
do like
That's
the puzzles.
I
Send her
think that's the
puzzles
next
for
thing I want to
Christmas.
talk about, actually.
There's not enough
know.
puzzles in here
'Cause
though. Like,
she's literally like
like it could have been more.
Well, okay.
I will say some. I don't know. Go ahead.
No, please finish.
No, I was. I don't know. Just go.
Okay.
Go.
So the next thing that I wanted to talk about is because this is the main thing you're going to spend your time in the game doing, aside from just like seeing, the almost kind of cutscenes, like the nice presented hallways. When you are given free roam of an area, what you're usually doing is solving a puzzle of some sort. Even it's weird to call them puzzles because they're not always puzzles. It's just kind of like just go figure something out and like move on with your life. It's usually very simple tasks. Yeah. But like, so the reason I got so familiar with some areas, like we were saying earlier, is simply because I know John's I have very terrible eyesight or something, but like I like to think I'm pretty good at puzzles. I think I have a decent brain. It works okay. I love doing escape rooms, that sort of thing. You know,
that's the thing. We can't. We can't call them puzzles.
Yeah.
There were some that were like actual puzzles, but we can't call all of those tasks.
Exactly. Yeah.
Puzzles.
That's what I mean. Like, I DM D&D, like our freaking pod. Like,
he's a big brain, okay, guys.
Not that I'm a big brain, but like I enjoy puzzles. Like they don't bother me. But the reason I got so familiar with certain areas in this game was I feel like less than or more so than the puzzles, the stuff I got stumped on that killed my like runtime of the game was just simple tasks where I didn't see an object, or I didn't realize I could interact with it, or like stuff like that. Like, the quote unquote puzzle that ultimately killed my run, where I stopped playing altogether, like Amanda said, was not even a puzzle. It was just I just did not see the solution, which was just like a quick interaction. And to me, that's another factor that kind of slowed the gameplay down. And I don't know if other people had different experiences. I'm sure people smarter than me or more perceptive than me had a way easier time with it. But I struggled a lot to just find like little things that I just straight up didn't see. And so even when I figured it out, it almost didn't feel, and again, in the puzzles, it was satisfying. But when it was the little stuff like that, it didn't feel satisfying to figure it out, because it wasn't like I connected the dots, this is what we do. It's like it was that? I could do that? Okay, I'll do that. I don't know. How was all of that stuff for you guys?
I liked it too. I don't know, because again, like, they weren't puzzles, but from the very beginning of the game, you learn you can interact with basically everything.
Yeah.
So knowing that I don't know, that alone just helped me a lot. And I clicked on everything, right? I would just click on everything just to see, like, can I actually like keep it with me? Can I put it in my bag? Can I keep it in my items, whatever the heck? Or is it just something that's there and I could just throw a vase? And I would go around throwing vases sometimes just because I'm like, I don't know, I thought it was fun. But then that would also alert monsters that I was alive. So had to stop doing that. But for just like the basic, not basic, but like the tasks where you just had to, for again, like back in the fort area or whatever with the elevator, I thought that was cool. I don't know.
It is cool because some of the aspects, where you're just picking up objects, like it has a very almost like Portal feel to it. So I see what you enjoy about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And I don't, like, when I finally figured out how to get the elevator, like, I did have the reaction. I was like, oh yeah, and I put it down. I was like, let's go. And I was like, really, I don't know, I was happy that I figured it out. So I don't know, it's just, again, it's just like, it depends on who you are as a player, as a person. I don't know if it was because you also had it like you had the idea of like, I'm finishing this game in one sitting today. I don't know if maybe that added like a pressure to it.
I think towards the end, it maybe stressed me out a little bit. Like when I hit that 6, 7, 8 hour mark, because I had read the game was anywhere from 6 to 12 hours.
Right.
But early on, I wasn't stressing about it because the game was so short. Like that's why I decided to do it in one sitting at all.
Right. To be fair though, there is a point in the game that I was just like, okay, like I how is the game still going? Like I feel like
I think the game tries to exhaust you on purpose. I don't know if that's necessarily enjoyable, but there is I don't want to jump into narrative too much because I think we can kind of close out with that. But to your point, I don't know if you felt the same way, but the game has a point about halfway through where it's the coolest sequence in the game, in my opinion, featuring many monsters.
Got it.
And I thought it was super cool. I was like, wow, I'm almost scared. Like I'm a little tense. It was only killed by the fact that I knew that, basically nothing would happen to me. But
I guess.
if I had a little more fear, it was presentationally, it was super effective. Like I thought all of the reveals every time you entered a room, I would have that moment of like,
yeah.
I
had to see
of like,
That's the thing, 'cause
what
just,
the hell do I
just
do?
seeing it.
Yeah.
Just seeing that.
Yeah, it was very
For
cool.
me, I was like, yeah, that got me. And I was like, you gotta breathe, girl. You gotta breathe. You gotta breathe and you gotta do it. You gotta suck it up and you gotta do it.
For me, the problem is just that came way too early, I think. And then from that point forward, there are so many times where the game goes, oh, look, there's the exit, and then you fall somewhere. I feel like you fall into holes like nonstop in this game, and that to a point it became tedious. Where like even at the end, it wasn't even what was going to happen. But like there's a middle of a section that's supposed to be very tense, and I was walking and I'm going and I'm like, oh my god, go ahead, fall. We know what's going to happen. We know the ground is going to give out from under us. Go ahead, fall. Just do it. I was so tired of it by that point because it had kept happening over and over.
So it's an Uncharted game, is what you're telling me.
What's up?
I don't recall falling that often. I know at the beginning we fell a lot. I know in that fort area you fell through. You purposefully went through a hole like several times, and I'm like, John, get out of the hole. It's not where you gotta go. So at least to myself, but I don't know how many. I don't know how many.
And it's funny because I saw you had the same expectation too. There's one point towards the end where she's walking on a plank and you're like, it's gonna break. And she's
100%.
I mean,
I only got
that's
that
'cause
I'm
it's
like, of
predictable.
course, you're gonna make the pregnant woman fall. This
Yeah.
is awful. And then you did it. And I was like, okay, thank you. That was kind of nice.
I feel like
But
You're pregnant.
yeah.
the little puzzle moments you guys were talking about earlier, I feel like they just don't belong in this game. I feel like even as a viewer watching John stream, I didn't want him to be there anymore because I was bored watching it.
I disagree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just you disagree? Okay.
I think they do fit in the game. I wish there was some way of helping them move along a little.
No, and I'm sorry. I don't mean they don't belong in this game. I'm saying they don't belong in a horror game like this because that's not. I don't think that's a good way to break up the action by making you do mundane tasks. And I feel like if you're doing a walking simulator horror like this, there is a better way to release tension in shorter spurts just so you could get to the next major plot point. Because it's not like a Resident Evil game where the tension is held in the puzzle of inventory management and trying to figure out a map in your head of how to get from point A to point B. Because that's also part of the horror, holding your tension while doing some things that you might consider to be a mundane task. In this, it is literally forcing you to do something that you may not want to do and isn't part of the story at all. I could be wrong with that. But
I wish that the puzzles were just like a little more like or a little less brainless, as opposed to just
TJ
like
die?
I see this, or
he's
you have
back.
I almost wish that the puzzles themselves were just a little harder, make you think a little more than just like I see that goes here, cool. And then if they made it more tense from like why you're trying to do this, like, yo, there's a monster chasing you, you need to get this like set up like now, and like set up like some kind of urgency. Cause like I was really playing through the game and to me there was no sense of urgency for myself. I'm just kind of like wandering around, and then she gets like scared and I was like, oh man, that sucks. But I was never I never personally had like a fear. I'm just like, yo, this monster is going to eat me. I need to leave.
Yeah, because there's nothing jumping out at you while you're doing these puzzles, right? There's no stakes to it. You're just there doing it.
Well,
I would say that TJ's sentiments mirror mine, and I think where it fails again is just that the game is too slow. But let's say you did everything perfectly and like you didn't just overlook something. Like if you were finding the pieces with relative speed and competence, I guess, which I did not. But if you're finding these pieces, a lot of times it is kind of like, I need to find this. Where do I go? And you enter a room, and there is something scary in the room. So like, I feel like if you're breezing through the game smoothly, it does work well on that front. The problem, again, maybe because you were watching my stream or whatever, but I would overlook something, and so I would scour an area to death, and so there was just nothing left at that point other than just find the frickin' item. But I also do wish that there were kind of moments of like, because I think the puzzles where you did have to think were pretty satisfying. And then also I think that there were a few moments where there is kind of that urgency of like, there's a monster and you got to do something. And I thought those moments worked well. I think I did some by accident just because I didn't want to hide. I wanted to keep moving. And so like there were times where like I'm pretty sure the game wanted me to fall to the floor and wait. And I went, no, I'm running up to the wheel and I'm going to mash my mouse until this gate opens and run through it, even though the monster's right behind me. And that was a cool moment,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there were definitely certain moments where like there was a lot of tension and you had to push through before something came at you, or at least I don't know, maybe that's just how I felt. I was very tense throughout the game. I was scared. So I couldn't help it.
And again, if the environment works and the environment is scaring you like it did for Amanda, you're also scared to move into a new room pretty much at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
100%. I was so scared to open a door, dude. Like, it was so... I'm like, I'm an idiot, but I got scared, so...
Yeah.
Also, I just wanted to, really quick, the monsters, although at first, you had said something about the monsters, but I just wanted to say that when you get closer to the end of the game, the monsters and the things that you learn about the monsters, I loved it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like story-wise, it's great. Like,
I thought it was great. I was like,
it's good.
What? Especially in that maze area and everything. And I was like, I was terrified, but I was also like, it also kind of hurt me because of within the story and the narrative and as the characters and all that. I was like, wow, this sucks, but also like, I'm terrified. Please don't hurt me. But at the same time, like, damn, like, yikes, sucks for you, dog. But yeah, I don't remember what you said at the beginning about the monsters, but I thought it picked back up with them around that area, I would say.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
I can see why. There is a cool revelation later in the game that I feel like it didn't reinstate fear.
there wasn't like tension.
It was an
You just
interesting
learned
layer
about
for
it.
sure.
It was cool.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah. Okay, so unless you guys have other topics you want to talk about, I think the last two things I want to hit are kind of tech, like as far as graphics and performance. And then maybe close out with overall thoughts on the narrative, because that is the big draw of the game, yeah?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm just curious to see what you all thought about the game technologically. On my end, I was not impressed with it visually at all. It felt like BioShock, and BioShock is an old game. I love BioShock, but... like the sand does not move at all. Like the sand is it's solid ground, and your hand clips through the solid ground, and so for being a new 2020 game, even though it is cheaper, I was a little disappointed with zero expectations. But just when it booted up, I was like, this looks old. And then two, the fact that it looks old, and I ran into performance issues. I mean, nothing like game breaking or anything, but just like my game would lag from time to time, and I was like, why? Why was my question. Yeah, but that's pretty much it. But I will say I didn't run into glitches or those. So like it's technically sound. It's just not impressive.
I didn't run into anything crazy on PS4. It seemed okay to me. But I will kind of agree with that, especially to a game where it's not like a bunch of action oriented. They definitely could have focused a little more on like graphically. I think if they did that, it might have made it just a little bit scarier. But I mean, it looks fine.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I can totally give you that. Personally, when it comes to like graphics and stuff like that, I don't care very much about that kind of stuff. I just have found, because I remember I specifically remember like the first stream, and like we were on the plane and I looked out the window. I was like, wow, this looks great. And then I remember John started the stream and he's like, why does this look like this? Like, why does this look so bad? And I was like, oh, okay, well,
That's funny.
there you go. So, yeah, for me, like, again, like,
That's very funny.
as soon as I got in the game, I was like, dude, this is Nancy Drew. I wrote a play and it's Nancy Drew. The way the characters are, the way they would interact, and all the way down to the graphics, I was just like, yeah, I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it.
You're gonna tell me that scene where the doctor was looking into your face was not disturbing? That character model.
Time out. That scene, like, everything was fine, but then you just look at the doctor and his eyes, dude. Like, what was up with that?
Dude
I
was
was
busted.
like, I'm
That's
trying
it.
I'm having a moment right now, and you're gonna tell me that's what he looks like while I'm doing this? Negative, dude. That was rough. It was so weird. And I get it, because, like, they're in the desert and, like, they're dirty and stuff, but it was just the eyes.
But if you look at it, like, all the character models in general, like, I think, you know, humans are the easiest thing for your brain to be like, that doesn't look right. And the humans in this game, I'm just like, wow, this looks old as hell. Like, you're made out of Play-Doh.
It did look old. I think, I mean, I haven't, now I kind of wish I played the other games just to, like, you know, get it more. But based on reviews that I've seen of other games, like, yeah, people loved it. But graphics-wise, I assume, like, this is within and following the same style.
I mean,
right?
I think, and I could be absolutely wrong on this, but I don't know why this is popping into my head. I think I remember reading somewhere that they use the same engine. And so that's probably it.
Makes sense.
Which would be an old engine at this point, because it's been a few years.
Yeah. But yeah, I can agree that because it is a 2020 game, I'm sure the expectations were a little higher, and if the graphics were better, it probably would have been scarier to those that don't find it scary now, because I was already I was scared, so.
Yeah. I mean, technically, you know, design-wise, other stuff, like sound was pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, and
I love
creative design as
That
well.
was alright.
I
Like,
thought,
the lighting was cool. Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
The monsters
dude,
look great. The environments look pretty
times
good.
that I got scared by my shadow, bro, are you kidding me? Awful. I feel like an idiot. Ugh, so good. Anyway,
So, do we think we're ready to talk about narrative, and then maybe after that move into a vote? Cool.
Yeah.
yeah.
So I guess I'm just curious to hear what you all think about the narrative, because being Amnesia, the whole thing is, that you really don't remember much at all, and you're kind of piecing it together as you go throughout the game. I will say that one of my other big issues with the game, and it really started to bother me as I got late into the game, because I was like, wow, I'm like 6 hours in, and I still don't really know very much, and it's because there's an inflection point, and after that point, you get like cutscene after cutscene after cutscene, and so it suddenly dumps everything on you. But I wish there had been a little more throughout.
Yeah, like layered in different spots and like notes or something.
Yeah, because like a lot of times I remember I'd be in the middle of a mission and I'd be like, what am I doing and why? Like, I had no idea why I was doing anything other than, like, I know I'm pregnant and I know I need to escape, but, like, what is my current objective in this very second, and why is that my objective? I felt like I was just moving because I could move, you know? Mm-hmm. And I felt like the baby mechanic and the motherhood aspect is such a cool idea to bring into a horror space. But there wasn't enough in the gameplay throughout to make that narrative matter as much as I wanted it to, you know, other than just like forcing you to check in on your baby every now and then. Like, the situations themselves were kind of disjointed from that, aside from very specific sequences. But then the problem with some of the sequences is that this game, because when you get your memories back, it's basically like you're looking at like a sketch from your notebook and you're hearing voices and stuff. And so I think the actress who plays the main character did a pretty good job with the voice. When she had her scenes, I was like, yeah, you go, girl. You act your heart out. But she has this incredible weight on her shoulders of basically carrying the whole game by yourself. Because all the characters that you learn about, all the other characters besides yourself, you are learning about them retroactively. You're by yourself pretty much the whole game.
Yeah. And
so you're just getting these snippets of memories. And so when you learn about, as a vague example, let's just say, like, you know, a character's death or something like that. When you learn about that death, it, like, it doesn't, at least for me, it didn't really carry any impact because I, as the player, did not have any personal connection to these people. I was just like, oh, I think you're that one person I saw in that one sketch flashback that one time. You know, there were a few cool narrative moments at the very beginning, but then for the rest of the game, it kind of fell flat. Like I wasn't sure what I was doing and why, and so it kind of it was one of those other things that kind of lost steam for me as we went on.
I liked it. It's like every time, John. It's like I don't know. I had to continue to remind myself, like, Amanda, she has amnesia, like that's why she can't remember it. I'm like, the game's called Amnesia, you're an idiot. I'm an idiot, not her. She's great. Voice actress is Alex Wilton Reagan. I could easily be mispronouncing that, so forgive me, but I think she did a phenomenal job, especially having carried basically the whole game by herself. And I don't know, I was pretty engaged with the story again until there was just that point where I was like, okay, similar to John, why am I doing the things I'm doing? Why am I suffering? I could just turn off the game and not suffer anymore. But I was still like intrigued enough to want to know what the heck is going on that I had to continue. And I mean, throughout the game, you're picking up pieces of paper and tablets, and you're reading and you're learning about what the heck is going on. Which, by the way, there's like an extraterrestrial sort of like.
That was the most interesting thing in the game for me.
I was just like, I was so confused. I'm like, are these aliens? Are they spirits? Are they like gods? Like, what exactly? And which. I still have the question, but I was into it because I'm like, I don't know what they are and I want to figure out why they are. Yeah.
Well, for me, that was the most fleshed out part of the game, like NPC wise, I guess, even though they're not NPCs, they're just readings. But you read about like because when you find your memories, you know, they're all very like important to you pretty much.
Yeah.
But in those parts of the game, because you're learning about a whole other group of people that you straight up have no knowledge about, they allowed themselves to include more kind of like mundane stuff and more like, oh, here's this one worker, like a work log or whatever, like something like that.
Yeah.
And that kind of lent to the realism, so I found those pretty interesting.
I liked it. Yeah. Even how your personal group ties into them, I was like, I was just so intrigued. I was so curious as to why we were here. I knew why we were here in the first place. We're on an expedition thing, or we were on an expedition with this group, and then everything just went wrong. And then once the game, because again, John is right, the game does pick back up at a point where it's like cutscene after cutscene, and I do wish it was a little more spread evenly throughout. But once those cutscenes are coming in, and I was just like, are you like, no way, like, are you kidding me? Like, why? But yeah, no, I liked it.
But no, I agree. There was like no, like, until you get to the end and they do start give you information, there's like nothing in the game that really makes you like really want. I'm like, obviously you're just like, why am I in this situation? But there's nothing to really just like, no, now I gotta find out why she's here, because like this has been bothering me the whole time. Like, why is this and that happen here, and like, why do we see these symbols, and what does this note mean, kind of thing. It was just more like oh, okay, so she did this. Oh, that's kind of cool. And then what about this? Oh, that person is cool. What about this one? It's like, oh, they died. Dang, that sucks. It's like just like
yeah.
It's like you're reading a story while playing a game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, oh, dang, that sucks. Like, that is exactly the perfect summation for, like, why so many moments fell flat for me. It just didn't have that connection. And, like, yeah, it's just a little disjointed, the storytelling. And maybe it's just, I mean, I have no doubt it's hard to get you to care about a story that you're learning about. Because it is disjointed, you know, you're learning about what happened before while you're living the now. And so it narratively, it's a hard thing to pull off. And I don't think they did an abysmal job.
So do you think it would have ran better if, like, in those flashbacks you go and you, like, legitimately
play it?
Yeah.
Honestly, because it could end up being really annoying. Like there's a lot of games that do stuff like that, and it ends up being super annoying. But I actually think it would have helped, and it would have made moments more impactful because you would have seen people, like actually next to you, so that when you find out, what happened or whatever, you're like, oh man, you have that lived experience, because that's the thing about a game as opposed to like a book or a movie. It's you're living it, and so to have that moment, even if it's just one like gameplay scene for 10-15 minutes with a character, and then you find their corpse like right after or whatever, at least you have that moment of like, oh man, we had that moment together. We actually shared that connection, and you're forced to live it as opposed to just reading about it. It's your life as opposed to a history book. It's a challenge, and I'm sure lots of people probably feel differently. It fell a little flat for me in those ways. But to Amanda's point, when it does pick back up, it got very interesting. I mean, there was one point where like I remember I shouted at a character. I was like, hey, "Come here! I'm gonna kill you! I'm gonna kill you! Come here! I'm going to murder you!" And it was not long before I stopped playing. And the thing is, the game had picked up. It picked up the momentum. I got stumped on something stupid, and it killed the momentum again. And that was a straw for me. I was like, okay, I can't. Sorry, if you're gonna keep killing these moments, I can't keep doing this. And so that's when I stopped, which sucks because I don't care enough to force myself to keep going through it, but I do care enough that like I'll probably watch the other endings just to know, how it can end. But yeah, I guess any other stuff you guys want to talk about before we go into a vote?
How much does it cost?
$30.
30.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I'm ready for a vote,
All right.
I think.
So here we go. In the case of Amnesia Rebirth, how do we vote? So I guess I'll start. You've heard my opinions throughout. I think they attempted a lot of really cool stuff in this game. I just feel like in practice, at least for my experience with the game, a lot of the coolest stuff ended up falling pretty flat. I do appreciate the approach they had to the horror and the narrative and all of that. And I think, there are probably a lot of people who would enjoy this game. Ultimately, it's just kind of like there's too many caveats. Like I feel like if you don't and not that it's a hard thing to achieve, but if you don't experience the game in the way that they expect you to, I think more likely than not it will fall flat. And so while I don't hate it, it didn't offend me. I'm just not excited about it at all. And I'd rather have that money in my pocket, so it's gonna be a should not buy it though.
Amanda?
I mean, look, if with any game, it totally depends on the kind of person and player you are. So I think we all gave really good points. I think if you're anything like me, and you're looking to be scared and also looking for a story that has what I think is a pretty good narrative and I don't know, and looking for a bit of more of like a journey game, and I think you should get it. I don't know. I liked it. I liked the puzzles. I even enjoyed the scares. I laughed at myself after I jumped and got scared. And I mean, will I ever play a scary game again? Maybe. I am actually genuinely curious to potentially play the free Amnesia game. I don't know which one I got, but I got a free Amnesia game the other day, and now I kind of want to play it just because now I'm kind of intrigued. I don't know.
Is it the Dark Descent?
I think it is.
That's the good one.
That's what I've read, so I'm like, now I'm kind of curious. So I don't know. I liked it enough, and I would say you should buy it. Especially, I'm like, $30. That's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And hey, they tell you from the beginning, this is what the game is going to be, and if you start the game, you don't like it, then you could just return it. Just don't play past 2 hours, and you're fine. Boom, bam, chicken ham. Yep.
Nice. This one's hard for me, cause like obviously we've all had like 3 different experiences. I think John's was closer to mine, but I think even at that point, like it wasn't. Me personally, like I wasn't fully invested enough in this game and the characters and the story. But But then again, like over the course of just like doing these podcasts, I found like these kind of games just don't excite me. Just because like there's not enough for me to do personally, and I just get bored. Regardless of like if you have like a phenomenal story, no matter how great your story is, like if I'm just like bored walking around playing it, I don't think that it would be worth it. That being said, depending on the kind of person you are, depending on the kind of game you are, it's a pretty good game. It's definitely like if you were looking for more like narrative based games, then that could really be right up your alley. I think it's an interesting. I can't even think of the word for it. Maybe like an input or something like that for like the horror genre in general. Just because like there aren't a lot of horror games like this, and actually it's a nice like step forward. So that being said, I'm gonna say you should buy it. I don't know if you should buy it at $30 still, but I think that you should buy the game.
Wow, I was not expecting that outcome.
I wasn't expecting that either.
Of Amnesia Rebirth, you should buy it though?
It's a question. It's just like the fact that Amanda's a different kind of gamer than us, and the fact that she was like, I want to play another one, and I was just like, there are people like that though, so.
People like this.
People
I mean,
like her out
I'm not
there.
mad at it. In fact, I'm surprised that I liked it so little, just because like it is so narrative heavy. Like it tries to get the kind of horror that would appeal to me, you know. Again, it just kind of fell flat. So like, I'm not mad, but I do think, you know, personally, it did end up being kind of a bad game. But not like active. It's so weird. Like it's not actively bad. It's just bad because it's not good.
Yeah.
Does that make
just
sense?
like, no, but I don't think it's a bad game at all. It's just me personally. Like I beat the game, and there was no like real sense of like, yes, I did it.
Yeah.
It was just like all right, cool.
Okay. Yeah. It's like that TV show that you've been watching for years, and like the final season comes on, and you're like, I don't care anymore. But I've spent
So I gotta
this much
finish
time with
this.
it already. I might as well just see it out.
Oh, like Walking Dead?
Ooh.
Dang.
Although,
know,
like, I
man.
kind of want to
Walking
watch,
Dead
like,
is
they
more
just made a
interesting
new
than this.
spin-off, and, like, I kind of
I do agree
watch
with that. Yeah.
But we'll get into that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, let us know, if you're listening to this, if you want us to do more than video games, because,
All right.
I'd be interested in watching new shows, you know? Especially the Walking Dead Generations. Yeah.
I don't. You guys can review that. I don't want to have to go back. I don't want to go back into Walking Dead.
You don't gotta go back. This is a new thing. This is kids born in the zombie generation.
Oh my god.
Mandalorian comes out Friday, everyone.
Okay. All right.
Buckle your seatbelt.
Sabrina
buy
comes back
Amnesia.
December 31st.
Go enjoy it.
On that note, yeah, if you do want to see us do more than video games, I guess let us know, because there's a lot of things that you maybe should or shouldn't buy. But thank you all so much for listening. I want to give a super quick thank you to our patrons, Ann Baird and Jerry Benetatos. If you're interested in supporting the show, check out the links in the show notes. We have a Patreon where you get access to exclusive content like our 24-hour impressions. We have a Ko-fi. We stream every single day on Twitch at twitch.tv/whimsicproductions. All that other stuff. Also, if you enjoy what we do here at Should I Buy It, though, please consider checking out our other podcasts, Dungeons and Drimbus. We're nearing the end of our first season, and I'm so proud of the stuff that we've done there. I really enjoy the story. And we're nominated for a couple of awards in the Audioverse Awards, so...
And it's a good time, dude.
Go check it out. That said, thank you all so much for listening. I guess go play Amnesia. What did we vote again? I don't remember.
We said yes.
We'll talk
We
at
said
you
yes.
next
Go
week.
get it.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.